Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This is Tariq Amin, lecturer, Department of English, Cohort, University of Science and Technology, Cohort. A very warm welcome to the course of Functional English. This is video number 1 of the lecture number 29. And our today's topic is dialogue writing. Let's have a look at the discussion agenda of today's class. In today's class, first of all, we will talk about dialogue. After that we will discuss some basic rules. The basic rules would be rules for indenting, rules for the spoken words, and rules for punctuation. Let's start the class. A dialogue is conversation in a story, or really any time something is said aloud. Generally, it is defined as conversation in a story, but it is not necessary that it would always be conversation in a story. This can be conversation in real life as well. This can be conversation in a day-to-day life as well. Or whenever something is said aloud, it is a conversation. It is dialogue. In very simple terms, a dialogue is a conversation between two or more people. It is actually conversation between two people or more than two people. It can be conversation between two or more people. This is the simplest definition of dialogue. Now there are some basic rules when you write. Some basic rules that you should follow when you write dialogue. The first rule is rules for indenting. When writing dialogue, whenever you write dialogue, start a new paragraph each time the person speaking changes. Now, for example, there are two persons who communicate with one another. There are two persons. Now, when one person starts speaking, you should write his turn from a new paragraph. When he gives turn to another person, another member of the communication process, when you write it in your paragraph, in your dialogue, you should start writing it from the new paragraph as well. So each time if a person speaking changes, you should start a new paragraph each time as well. This means that you must indent. For example, hey, come over here, Nimra, called Jill to her friend as they got out of the car. And another example is, sorry, we are late, apologized Annie as she and Martha hurried toward Jill. Now these speakers change. Over here called Jill and over here apologize Annie. So these paragraphs does not start from the left side of the page. These start a bit right, a bit. For example, we can see that there is space between these two sentences, the end, the margin, and the place where the sentences start. So there is difference. There is some distance between the margin and the place from where the sentences start. So you must indent. You must start a new paragraph each time the person speaking changes. Now there are some rules for spoken words as well. The previous rules were for indentation, and these rules are for spoken words. The speaker's words would be set apart from the rest of the sentence with quotation marks. You can set apart the speaker's word or the words of the speakers from the rest of the sentence with the help of these quotation marks. These are quotation marks. You should use them to set apart the speaker's word from the rest of the sentence. Or you should set apart the exact words of the speaker with the help of these quotation marks from the rest of the sentence. Like, how do you do? Now these are the exact words of the speaker. These are the speaker's words, speaker's exact words, speaker's direct words. Asked Ellen. This is the rest of the sentence, whereas these words are the exact words of the speaker. And we can see that these words have been set apart from the rest of the sentence with the help of quotation marks. These are quotation marks. Now, rules for punctuation. Begin the first word of the spoken part with a capital letter. You should always begin the first word of the spoken part, first of the word of the spoken part with a capital letter whenever you uh, uh, begin, whenever you start writing a sentence of a new speaker, begin it, you should begin it with, uh, you should start the first word of each turn. You should start the first word of each sentence in a capital letter. It will show that the person speaking has got changed. Place end punctuation inside the quotation marks. End punctuations should be put inside the quotation marks. There are three kinds of end punctuation marks. Let's discuss them. For example, look at that, exclaimed Peter. We can see that this exclamation mark is the end punctuation mark. This is actually exclamation mark, and this exclamation mark is the end punctuation mark of the sentence, and it should be placed inside the quotation marks when you write dialogue. A comma separates the speaker from the spoken words. There are two things. The first one is spoken words and the second thing is the speaker. So how are they separated from one another? Comma is used to separate speaker from the spoken words. For example, the doctor stated, this is the speaker, and I think you will feel better soon. These are spoken words and this is speaker, and we can see that this is speaker, and these are spoken words. And spoken words have been separated from the speaker with the help of comma. We can see that comma has been used over here. This is comma. Comma has been used in order to separate speaker from the spoken words. I think you will feel better soon. I think you will feel better soon. These are the spoken words of the speaker. These are the exact words of the speaker. These are the direct words of the speaker. And this is speaker, and these are the spoken words. And once again we can see that spoken words have been separated from the speaker with the help of comma. Now there are some more rules as well. However, if the dialogue ends in a question mark, when the dialogue ends in a question mark or exclamation point, exclamation mark, do not add a comma when the spoken part is before the take. When the spoken part is before the take, you don't need to add a comma. Like, I can't believe I am going to Hawaii. I can't believe I am going to Hawaii, she shouted. Now we can see that this dialogue, this sentence ends in exclamation point. It ends with an exclamation mark. It ends with a exclamation mark. This mark can be seen inside the sentence. This is exclamation mark. This is exclamation mark. This is also exclamation mark. We can see that this part of the sentence ends with exclamation mark, and in the above rule we say that if the dialogue ends in a question mark, dialogue means sentence, if the sentence ends in a question mark or an exclamation point, now what should we do then? We do not add a comma. We should not add a comma when the spoken part is before the tag. We can see that the spoken part is before the tag, and we can see that we have not used comma over here. Some basic punctuations are, there are several ways to end a sentence. I have discussed the same thing in the previous slide, that there are several ways to end a sentence. Like, we can end a sentence with a period. We can end a sentence, this is period. This is period. We can end a sentence with a period. We can end a sentence with exclamation mark. We can end a sentence with a question mark, this is question mark. So a sentence can be ended with the help of these three different punctuation marks: period, exclamation mark, and a question mark. It is permitted in dialogue to use exclamation mark and question marks as part of your quote in the middle of a complete sentence. In the middle of a complete sentence, we can use exclamation mark, and we can also use question mark, and we have seen in the previous slide that we have used them in the middle of the complete sentence as well. Like look out, shouted Marjorie. We can see that we have used exclamation mark at the end, in the middle of the complete sentence. We can see it used in this example as well. Another example is say what. Say what. We can see that this sentence ends with a question mark. It ends with question mark. Asked Brendan as he was eaten. As he was eaten. Another frequently used mark, punctuation mark in dialogue is the dash. This is dash. This is dash. This is dash. This is dash. So it is also frequently used to mark punctuation mark in dialogue. Use the dash to show a character got cough off while speaking. When a character cough off in a particular drama or in a particular conversation, you can show it with the help of dash. You can put dash in order to show it, in order to show the cut off of the character or cut off of a particular member. Like don't you dare try to, it is cough off, it shows cough off. And I will if I want to, and I am, once again it also shows cough off of the speaker. You do it, I am leaving far, once again it shows cough off. It, when this punctuation mark is used in dialogue, just know that it is used for cough off. Another popular punctuation mark is the ellipses, which is 3 periods. These are 3 periods. These 3 periods are called ellipses. These 3 periods, these 3 periods, and these 3 periods. We have seen these 3 periods, and we can see these 3 periods in different texts as well. The ellipsis means the person stopped voluntarily in the middle of the sentence. It shows that the person voluntarily stopped in the middle of a sentence. Like you know, Lenny, I've been thinking. Now these 3 punctuation, these 3 periods are the ellipsis, shows that the person voluntarily stopped during the middle of the sentence. He has not completed his sentence, but he has stopped over here in the middle of the sentence voluntarily. What you think, Bo George? Lenny asked. And if we hitchhiked to Serena's, we could. Now, once again, the person has voluntarily stopped in the middle of this sentence, and we have come to know about this this with the help of these 3 periods, with the help of ellipses. Now Lenny looked at George. Lenny looked at George. We could what? Now over here another speaker is asking, we could what? We could what? These are the references: dialogue by Chitna Seni and dialogue by M.S. Faro, dialogue, some examples by Gibbo. So in today's class we discussed dialogue. We discussed that dialogue is the conversation between 2 people, or it is the conversation in a story, and we discussed that this conversation can be between 2 people, or it can be between more than 2 people as well. We can't say that it is just conversation between just 2 people. We can't say that. It can be conversation between other people as well. And we discussed some of the rules for writing dialogue, and we discussed the rules for indentation. We discussed the rules for spoken word. We discussed the rules for punctuation marks as well. We discussed question mark. We discussed question mark. We discussed exclamation mark. We discussed dash as well. So this was all about today's class. Thank you very much for listening to the video. Allah Hafiz.